never once. So there's this channel, stay calm, there's this channel called Julien Miquel, and he has 751,000 subscribers. I've already debunked this channel on my main channel Metatron, but today
I found something out.
To cut a long story short, this guy makes pronunciation tutorials where he's teaching you how to pronounce languages such as Mandarin Chinese, word by word, Mandarin, Japanese, Italian. Since the guy is French, I think the only thing he pronounces correctly is French. Given I'm getting a little salty here, his English is actually not too bad. You can tell he's French, but his English pronunciation I think is a little better than what you would normally expect, which probably created this false feeling of confidence that this guy has, which made him think that all he needs to do to learn how to pronounce words and teach it to other people is just to listen to things once on Google and then just magically skip decades of linguistic training. Now, just to give you an idea, the way he teaches you how to pronounce Italian words, I'll make a dedicated video, I will make a dedicated video to his Italian, but the way he teaches you how to pronounce Italian words is literally Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not some kind of elitist who is trying to say that only the best of the best of the best are allowed to teach. All I'm asking is that perhaps before you teach something, you should know it. Am I asking too much? Anyways, today's video is about my recent discovery that this guy has started teaching Latin pronunciation. How about we check his Latin together?
We are looking at how to pronounce the famous quote in Latin.
Hey folks, a video I saw this morning and it reminded me of me. Here's a guy, he's indignant at the way somebody is teaching innocent learners Latin with the wrong pronunciations, and that's me with Gaelic, because I'm getting very impatient now with the way Gaelic is taught, and I'm seeing it more and more because now, as you know, I'm giving lessons on italki, and when I get a new student there, a student who's never learned any Gaelic, things go great. We get off to a good start, and we learn he learns or she learns all of the basic sounds, no problems. However, I often also get intermediate students. I've had dozens of students now. It's not an awful lot, but it's quite a few. It's building more and more. When I get intermediate students, so far they always pronounce so many of the words and the phonemes wrong. And I know why. Like this guy, the problem is this guy is talking about somebody who's teaching Latin wrong. It's the exception with Latin. Most people teach in Latin online. Have a look at this video yourselves, please. Called Do Not Learn Latin from this channel by a guy called Metatron's Academy. The problem is with Gaelic, it seems to be ubiquitous. So where is this coming from? Well, it's coming from the laziness of those who are teaching it. The laziness or the inability, the inefficiency, or the just, what's that word? Incompetence, I'm afraid is the word. I'm sorry to say that. Now, these people, I think the biggest offenders are, I'll give you a list of the three biggest influences for people learning Gaelic nowadays online. And the thing is, I have reached out to all of these people and I've said to them, listen, you are doing damage, you're causing people to learn the wrong things. Innocent people who don't know any better, because of course if you go to learn a language, you don't know that the teacher is going to teach you all the wrong sounds. You assume the teacher is going to teach you the right sounds. Like, for example, I've recently been looking to start a new language, and I was looking at Siamese there for a while, and I was going through a bunch of stuff on YouTube mostly and other places, and people take the time and effort to teach the sounds right, and it's a kind of a big deal, but straight away people are learning and struggling hard, and they're really difficult sounds in Siamese. Same in Ukrainian, not as much. I might instead learn Ukrainian because it's a little bit more accessible as regards the sounds and the grammar and the vocab and everything. But people make sure that they say things right. 90% of them plus make sure that they say things right. The funny thing is with Gaelic, it seems 90% plus don't. 90% of the teachers are teaching the wrong sounds. And as I say, I have got in contact with all of these people and I said, please, you're doing this wrong. It's not difficult. I will help you fix it. I will give you free lessons, I said to them. The biggest one, the first one I'm going to mention, that's a few years back. And all the only response was, first, quite rude, or very, abrupt answers, and then just ignored and didn't do anything. And these people, like this fella is getting enraged about, they give tutorials on pronunciation, as he said, or tutorials of pronunciation, and they just make a mess of it. Like, I just saw one of them there, the name of the Virgin Mary, in Gaelic it's Muire, and they said it's mura. Mura means if not, you know, she's not the Holy Virgin if not. Maybe she is to some, but that's not the name that should be used. It's Muire, and a ton of stuff like that. So, like this guy, I've now reached the point where I don't give a damn anymore. I think it's more important to protect the learner's dignity and ability to learn the language, because I am so sick and tired of having to fix these people's mistakes when I get intermediate Gaelic learners coming to me. We spend the first, depends on the person, but we spend the first block of time undoing the damage they've done and going over the sounds. Now, I don't say this directly, but because I usually teach with complete immersion, but it just takes a little bit more drilling, and if I wasn't careful, it could even frustrate the students a little bit. But I do it in such a way, I'm used to it now, that we get through it, and then looking back, they say, wow, I never knew that, you know? They observe it themselves oftentimes. I don't have to tell them. They can say, oh, how's that? And then they compare it with actual real Gaelic speech, and they're kind of a bit flabbergasted, thinking, how could that be so widespread and allowed? Well, it's allowed because it's allowed, I guess. So somebody's got to say something this evening to me, because, as I say, what's the worst thing? To call out these people, having first asked them privately, discreetly, to please do something about it. I was offering my help. I could train them up in no time at all. Any of them, easy peasy, just a couple of video conferences, and they would be on track to teach correct Gaelic with all the right sounds. But no, they wouldn't have it. So what do I do? Do I avoid hurting their feelings by keeping quiet, or do I avoid the hassle and heartache to the learners, which could go on for weeks and months and years, by calling out these people? So I'm putting out this video to warn people to, if you want to learn Gaelic, keep away from these people. And here goes. I'm going to, this video, I think I'll mention 3 entities on YouTube which have loads and loads of people going to them. And so therefore, because they teach the wrong sounds constantly, they are causing a lot of damage to these learners' learning. The number one, probably the biggest one, I haven't done any, I haven't studied the figures, but I just know they're quite big, quite common, quite ubiquitous, as I say, because they crop up a lot. The first one is one that's been around, I guess, at least 10 years. It's called Bitesize Irish. The guy in charge of that is a bloke called Owen, who did eventually respond to me quite, as I say, abruptly, not politely at all, and did not want to know anything. They pronounce a ton of stuff wrong. There's a lady who comes on there regularly, maybe every week, with some little phrase, and there would be great little phrases and great little words if only she said them right. She's the one who called the Virgin Mary in Gaelic Mura instead of Muire. And that's just one of a ton of things. Every time she comes on there with a pronunciation video, a large percentage of it is just pronounced wrong. Now, I don't know. I guess these people live in Ireland. Why don't they? There's a ton of stuff they could do. The first option could have been take up my offer and learn how to say these sounds. they've got tons of offers. They could also reach out to some person. I believe some of them live in Gaelic speaking areas. Just ask their neighbour, would you mind coming and do this for me? Or ask their neighbour to have a cup of tea and explain how to do the sounds. But is it a kind of blindness or deafness, a kind of, what's the word, denial? They refuse to admit that they're not pronouncing things right. I don't know what it's about. Anyway, here we go. Name and shame. I'm sorry, folks. I hate being rude, unkind, or anything like that. But if I don't do it, I will be unkind to a lot more people. And I would like to have my students have a chance. Not the students who come to me, that they will have learned correctly, instead of having to undo the problems that were caused by this, sorry to say it, selfish attitude of these people who refuse to learn, who refuse to make an effort, and who don't want to take advice and do things right. As I say, if they don't need to do it, they could always get a native speaker. I guess it can't be that difficult. So the biggest, as far as I can see, offender is Bitesize Irish, Owen and his companions, who consistently are teaching the wrong sounds to these people who know better and don't find out until much later. Oftentimes when they try to speak to native speakers, and the native speakers hear these wrong sounds, and instinctively you turn to English and say to yourself, well, this person obviously isn't very serious about this language. Let's just keep it in a language we can speak. When a native speaker hears the native sounds, the first reaction is more likely to be, oh, wow, this guy, this lady is making an effort. I'm going to go with them. I'm going to help them out. But when you see that they make such a mess of it, it could be very easy to assume that the fault is with the student. The fault isn't with the student, it's with the teachers most of the time. Okay, so that's Bitesize Irish. If you want to learn Gaelic, don't go near them with a barge pole. The next one is similar. I've reached out to him, he just blocked me. He's kind of obliquely criticised me, which is no big deal. But I'm saying the only contact I got from him was, none of it was positive. None of it was taking up my offer to help him out with it. And his channel is Learn Irish with Dane. Again, terrible pronunciation of Gaelic sounds. He doesn't say them correctly and doesn't even make an effort to. And they're the ones that seem to be, they're two big ones. So if you want to learn correct Gaelic, do not take your information, do not take your sounds from these people, please, because you'll regret it. And then there's another lady who I've also reached out to. She at least seems to be making a small effort, very small effort, but at least you can see a little bit of improvement over the years. But still, her pronunciation is abysmal. All three of these have abysmal pronunciation, I'm sorry to say. So also, if you want the correct pronunciation, keep away from a lady called Molly, and her site is Gaeilge chroí, which she translates oftentimes as Irish in my heart. So it does sting a little bit to have to criticize these people, but it was stinging more not doing it. So like this guy, I've decided to be brave and warn students to not do it. Who then, okay, so let's get something positive on this. Who is good? Well, the best sources of people who put on content that I see are the same two I mentioned in one of my recent videos, which is Daz Patraig, excellent Gaelic, beautiful pronunciation, lots of knowledge, gives lots of information. He is a master when it comes to all the different accents and varieties and dialects of Gaelic and of English. He really is a master. Unfortunately, he's not all that active. I guess he's busy with other stuff in his life at the moment. I've just sent him a comment there to ask him to get back on track. And then of course there is An Langshoch, the great scholar of Gaelic with excellent pronunciation and tons of knowledge on the subject, who does some brilliant videos and often says that he will get back into another video and then doesn't get around to it because I guess he has got a ton of stuff going on as well. So they're the only ones that I can think of right now who have excellent Gaelic. Oh, there's another lady who I started teaching recently, and she left me, she kind of explained obliquely, because she's been studying Gaelic on and off for years, and she explained obliquely why she didn't have the sounds that she learned with me in 1 hour. And she says that she was with a group called Gaeilge, I think it's what it's called, Gaeilge, and they do online classes. It seems they're not so hot. Of course, I don't know each individual teacher, but anybody who's come from them, also, they don't have the correct sounds, and they've never even been aware of these correct sounds, which with me, they learn very fast. So it's not as if they're incapable of saying them, because by the end of the first session with me, they are saying most of these sounds, nailing them. Okay, so I've mentioned the good ones are Das Patrick and Lungshach, the people who give good content. Then there's a few others. There's a guy called Dave Learns Irish. He is probably the first to admit that he doesn't have excellent pronunciation yet, but he's getting there, and he seems to be doing it well. And I wish he would put out more content, because every time he puts out a video, you can see he's coming on in leaps and bounds. So he's obviously a very dynamic learner and very aware of pronunciation, phonetics and all that. And then there's a lady in the United States, and her channel is Irish with Rosie. Same. She started off basic. She always says that she's a learner. She's struggling with the same problems in all aspects of learning, vocabulary, grammar and pronunciation. And again, she's dynamic. She's willing to learn. I've helped her out with a couple of bits and pieces. When I reached out to her, she immediately responded and asked for more help, and I gave her more help. And I will continue to. Anybody who calls on me, I'm happy to give them whatever help they need. So her channel is Irish with Rosie, and she's a brilliant source of information. So people, I'm going to put this information below in the description, and a big warning to, please, if you want to learn correct Gaelic, do not go to these people who I think are making a good living out of people learning wrong, because they haven't bothered to learn how to speak Gaelic correctly themselves. For whatever reason, it doesn't make sense to me. As I say, it will be easily fixed. They clearly don't want to, because they've refused my many offers to help them. Sorry, folks. Sorry. To help some lot, sometimes you gotta upset others a little bit, unfortunately. Okay, folks, let me know what you think, please.